We are live on the Vibrant Cat Eye podcast, back with with comedian, filmmaker, and friend Heather Turman. Hello, Heather. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Today we're going to be talking about the classic 1997 film Titanic. It's one of Heather's favorites, and we're going to be analyzing the spiritual and metaphysical aspects of that.
Yeah.
And it's a film that, has a lot of heart. It has a lot of it's a larger than life film, and I'm gonna let you, start
Do you want me to
the
start? Well, I think,
yeah.
really just what you said right there, that it's a larger than life film. I think it's because it speaks to like the mythology in all of us of the
Mhm.
human experience in like the biggest way, like truly.
Absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah. Go ahead. No, you go.
I was gonna say too, the thought I had was, when you think about a ship, you think about the ocean. The ocean water, it's our emotions and everything, and there are, like, plenty of emotions and of all sorts, like, all these different sub-stories, moving through this specific film.
100%. I mean, I would actually even throw a little theory into the mix that
Mhm.
that water is a great allegory and metaphor for God. It's the thing
Mhm.
that flows through all of us.
Oh, yeah.
It it connects, it's life. Water is life. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'll kind of, if you want, like, I can totally kind of give a broad, sort of piece about where it speaks to me spiritually.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like, I've always personally identified with Rose's
Mhm.
arc quite a bit because
Yeah.
and journey because
Mhm.
and I think anyone that at least grew up, I mean, she comes from a place of privilege, absolutely, but she still feels that she is able to see and feel that classism is wrong and
Mhm.
that the system that she's in is prison,
Mhm.
um, to the point that she wants to kill herself. That's the only way to freedom. And
Yeah.
I also think that that's the real mythological through line is the theme of freedom, right?
Mhm.
And liberating ourselves from these oppressive um, structures that are unnatural to the natural world. Um, and it's just such a perfect space to explore it in because we have, and I think it speaks to why people have been fascinated with the real Titanic
Mhm.
sinking, because the capitalism and the patriarchy and just
Mhm.
human culture for centuries for 4,000 years has been built on the idea that we can control life and death,
Mhm.
that we
Right.
have the ability to. And
Yeah.
the ship that they built, that they claim is unsinkable, is
Mhm.
such a perfect symbol for that because it's so much luxury, so much
Mhm.
money. And at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
Mother Nature is still going to be able to take you down. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And that
100%.
money isn't going to save you. Your luxury isn't going to save you. Um,
Mhm.
and it's interesting. The thesis of the movie is so perfectly established right when we arrive at the Titanic in Rose's story, when she says, or
Mhm.
when she first arrives, and um, she says that it doesn't look unsinkable or something, and he's like, it is unsinkable. Like God Himself could not sink this ship. Cal says that, and then we immediately cut to Jack in a poker game. And
Uh-huh.
Jack's first line is moment of truth, like somebody's life is about to change. He's playing
Yeah.
poker, therefore showing that like he recognizes fate and he
Yeah.
recognizes chance and he recognizes that we have free will and
Uh-huh.
we can't control always our outcome. There's forces
Yes.
beyond our control, right? And he's willing to surrender
Absolutely.
to it. Yeah. And he's
Yes.
willing to surrender to it. And so right away that thematic statement is established. Like, what is your ideology? And um, you know, Jack is the perfect teacher
Mhm.
for truth. He lives freely and that's why he's willing and able to die because he lives freely.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you were saying about how they said, "Oh yeah, not even God could sink this ship," and it makes me think God was like, "Okay, hold my beer."
Yeah, I know, for
Yeah.
real. I mean,
It
for real. That's like the that's like that I know, like, it's like Malcolm Gladwell wrote that book, David and
Mhm.
Goliath. And
Mhm.
there is almost something, it's like that Super Bowl many years ago where the Patriots were undefeated and the Giants
Right.
came in, and then that catch on the helmet and they like
Oh, yeah.
defeated this, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
There is this force that's like, if it can happen, like that it is possible. And
Right.
just when you think it's not is when it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because that's when we've forgotten
Mhm.
the the divine mystery of it all and the interconnectedness of it all. And yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And it's very, very reflective of the time of, of what's happening right now in our country is, in the United States
yep,
specifically, because we have these people that, are in power. They think that they are, completely, what is the word? Untouchable and,
yep,
will never face consequences. And, in a way, Titanic being, not only, a huge ship, but, you definitely see with like the first class, second class, third class, and the fact that it kind of shows how society is structured, that and Titanic being kind of a metaphor for capitalism, as you were
yep,
saying before earlier, and how like one little tear like at the bottom could like, sinks the whole feel like right now we are on a sinking ship.
100%.
Yeah, that's
And
I
the MAGA crowd is the mom, is Ruth, being like, "Will the
yeah,
lifeboats be seated according to class?" You know what I mean?
right.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like
And yeah. Well, I was
yeah,
gonna
it's a
say
whole level of delusion. Oh, go ahead,
it
sorry.
is literally. No, you're perfect. Um, that's a very interesting thing too,
Mhm.
because you had mentioned that you just watched it last night.
Yeah.
I recently watched it like
Mhm,
3 weeks ago, three
mhm,
4 weeks ago in theaters. It was playing in theaters as like
mhm.
a throwback thing. And it was so lovely because I teach screenwriting and do script consulting, so I know
Yeah, yeah.
Rose's arc so well. So I decided to pay closer attention to Jack as I watched.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because, he lives by his wits. We
Yeah,
already know that he lives, all he needs is a few blank sheets, the air in his lungs and a few blank sheets of paper, right? Like,
right, yeah.
and he gets by, like, he gets by on his talents. He
Mhm.
makes a few bucks here and there doing
Yeah,
drawings, making art, and he lives on that. And so he doesn't
yes,
try for more. You know what
right.
I'm saying? And I think that, like, there's something deeply spiritual about that in and of itself, but he
Mhm.
also, he's the one who knows how to survive. He has real survival skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a moment that and the whole third class does. They know this ship is sinking first.
Yeah,
They are walking down the hall and they're like, if this is the direction the rats are going, it's good enough for me,
that's
because
right. Oh
they
my
are
god.
connected to the truth,
Yes,
to nature, to the natural world. They know
exactly.
that, yeah, they don't try to best it or conquer it or beat it. They recognize that they're part of it and
Right.
that that's the way.
Yeah. You know what would have been really funny, like, even just to throw in some comic relief is if a bunch of rats just jumped into one of the lifeboats. You know,
For
like, that would
sure.
have
I know, poor rats. What's funny, what's a great
I
touch I
know.
noticed that James Cameron is a genius.
Uh-huh.
Because, when they're arriving at the ship, they have all that stuff. They have luggage,
Yeah.
suitcases.
Mhm.
They're at the very end, it's in passing. It's like happening behind people walking past, like when people are cowering, like, trying to get in the lifeboats. As people are walking past, you see people throwing bags off of the lifeboats, being like, "You're
Yeah.
not taking this.
Right,
Get rid of
right.
this shit." You know what I mean?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
that's not it's funny because like, I'm somebody that, like, it would be great to have my laptop, but if it came to my life and my laptop, I'm gonna throw that shit off of the,
Yes.
just yeah, I mean, all you need is yourself as long as you have your life. I mean, that's what I think for some people, I think in this materialistic world, it's just really, it's a very, I guess, hard pill to swallow for some people that you don't need as much, crap as you think you need,
100%. Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, and just our attachment to the material world in general.
Mhm.
And, and that goes to so many things within this movie. You know,
Mhm.
Rose's journey is absolutely the mythological story of our generation, in
Yes.
that, cuz the thing that she values, she brings paintings. She brings
Yeah.
Picasso. um, specifically, which is very abstract. She sees the world in
Right.
a different way. That tells us right away she sees the world in a different way.
Yeah.
And Jack, and so the moment she discovers he's an artist,
Uh-huh.
she start like it's just that's like, it's just a beautiful little touch. But like,
Mhm.
like she, for instance, because there's so much, let's talk, like, because there's so much debate,
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
about why didn't Jack get on the door at the end? Why couldn't she
Yeah.
save Jack? Like,
Right.
she's a selfish bitch, right? There's like
Right.
all this
Yeah.
anti-women, all this anti-woman shit, and in the and people, I've seen terrible propaganda. Literally, like, I've seen the same story
Yeah.
shared a million times where people are like, Rose is the antagonist of the story. She's the villain. She keeps that necklace. She could have helped her family, and then she just dumped it in the ocean in the end. And I'm
Right.
like, bro,
Exactly.
you are a victim of abuse under patriarchy and you don't even realize it. Look at you holding
Right.
this up. Rose had to hold on to the necklace in a
She did.
million ways. And like, there's so many beautiful touches because Rose, her mom tells her,
Mhm.
you are, all we have is our name. All
Yeah.
we have is our good name, right?
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful when Rose gives Jack Dawson's name
Yeah.
because she's giving up her name, the one thing she has of that she was told was of value. She
Exactly.
then, yeah, and she then after she's already done that, after she's foregone this life of luxury, after she let it go, she finds the
Mhm.
necklace. And she
Mhm.
doesn't turn it in because she talks about, obviously it was, there was an insurance policy on it. So if she turned it
Yeah.
in, her new identity would have been come into question. But also,
Yeah.
it's her only link to Jack. It's the only thing
Yeah.
she has to remember him by. And so
Right.
when she sees her drawing again and goes
Yeah.
through that experience, and she knows that it's not going to save her, it's not going to
Mhm.
save Bill Paxton's character who's looking for that necklace, just
Absolutely.
as it wasn't gonna save anybody else, and so
Yeah.
she has to let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, when she does throw it into the ocean at the end, that was, like, her final act of rebellion, like, because I mean,
100%.
yeah, because that I and the thing is with the ocean, like, you throw something in the ocean, even all those bodies there was 1,500 people that perished in the Titanic in real life,
Yep.
and only 750 or something, or almost
Yep.
800 people survived. That's over 60% of the people that died on that ship, right?
Yeah.
And so like, once every I mean, the thing with the ocean is, like, you've a body falls into the ocean, anything that falls into the ocean is almost, like, lost forever unless,
Mhm.
it from some act of spirit or God, the item itself or the person ends up washed up, on a shore somewhere, or
Mhm.
somebody catches it in a fishing boat or something like that. I think that's the most one of the most powerful things about the ocean is that, things can either be swallowed up and lost forever, or they can be found, in their own time and everything.
100%.
So, yeah. So,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with the heart of the ocean is,
Yep.
and what you brought up with Ruth and how you said that, all we have is our name. Like, one of the things one of the energies I was picking up from that character is, because, she's trying to marry off his daughter to, this wealthy, abusive,
Yep.
egotistical, narcissistic man, right? And, didn't care about her daughter's well-being, didn't care whether she was happy or not. She just saw dollar signs. She
Yeah.
saw her daughter as kind of her cash cow, but also, like, once her Rose decided not to get on that boat and she said, "Goodbye, mother."
Yep.
I could see, like, a part of Ruth just dying inside, but I had this feeling like she had her love for her daughter, but I think her love for some reason, like, intuitively, I was seeing the heart of the ocean as a much bigger thing for Ruth than her actual, than her love for her
Mm,
daughter.
well,
I
I think
Yeah,
I mean, yes, I mean, absolutely, there's totally something there.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
but I actually think because again, like, the theme of the movie is freedom, right?
yeah, yeah.
And safety, and, we are only truly safe if we're free, and,
Mhm.
um, Ruth, her, she believes that Cal is their ticket to freedom, that, like, we have to
Right.
play by these rules. So
Yeah,
there's, like, so it's not necessarily just money, it's in her mind safety, right? Money is safety to her, and so, like,
exactly.
um, but there's another beautiful touch that James Cameron does where after she says like, "Oh, like, all we have is our good name," and then she's like, "Do you want me to be a seamstress?" Like,
Right.
and what's so great about
Yeah.
that is it lets the audience know, that one little line lets us know that she has a skill, that
Mhm.
like when Rose abandons her and that's no longer an option for her, she's going to be okay. Do you
She
know what I
is.
mean? And I think that
Absolutely.
that's like a very important thing, that Rose wasn't selfishly leaving her mother. She was giving her mother a gift, actually.
Yeah.
And and like I think that like, because Rose's journey and what's so great, just in terms of beats,
Yes.
because first she is gonna, her ticket to freedom is killing herself. Jack saves her. And then she has, she unleashes, she lives a little bit, he teaches her how to live freely. And then
Right.
when she says, "I want you to draw me like one of your French girls," that's her first
Yeah.
action of saying, I want to pursue this, I want to live freely, and I'm making the
Yeah.
active choice, right?
Yes.
And then and she says she's getting off with him, when the ship docks.
Mhm.
Jack is the first one that says this is bad. He knows that the iceberg is bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but so then, then she has to go, and when she sees them be disgusting, when she says half the people on the ship are going to die, and
Yeah.
he says, and Cal says, not the better half, and and
Yeah.
she's just like, "You unimaginable bad," or no, he says, "Too bad I didn't keep those paintings, like they'd be worth more by morning," or whatever, or that drawing,
Right.
like, and
Yeah.
she's like, "You unimaginable bastard." And then she goes down and she saves Jack, right? And
Right.
that challenges her. That whole journey challenges her, but she still depends on him, because like when that
Mhm.
guy drops the key and they're stuck behind the bar, or the
Yeah.
gate, she's like, "Hurry, Jack, like, Jack, get it." Like, he's the one that undoes that. And he's the one the whole time guiding her, being like, this way, right?
Right.
All the way to the edge of the ship, where he's like, "We have to hold on as long as possible." And that's the same edge where, and
Yeah.
she's like, "This is where we first met,"
Right. Yeah.
and then it's going down, and I think it's a real great touch by James Cameron, because Jack kind of stands up on
Mhm.
the bar when it's sinking. He says, "Take a
Right.
deep breath," and they take a deep breath, or he's like,
Yeah.
"Now." And then it's going under, and then he stands up, and I feel like it's symbolically like he's the last man standing, bro, on a sinking
Right.
ship,
Exactly.
literally. And
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. And then you know she kicks, and he's on the door. He literally brought her to a threshold,
Right.
to a
Yeah.
threshold. And he lived freely. He couldn't imagine getting on that door. I heard James Cameron say in an interview, because he was asked about it, and he's like, "Man, you're really going there?" He's like, his chivalry demanded it. He loved her. If there was
Yeah.
a chance that they could die, like, he'd
Yeah.
rather save her. So
Yeah.
and it's beautiful, because he says at the beginning that the water is so cold, it's like 1,000 knives, and so he's willing to sit in a
Right.
thousand knives. And
Yeah.
then she when she realizes he's dead, and he
Yeah.
had made her promise to stay alive. "You're gonna stay alive, you're gonna live a life, you're gonna die an old lady warm in her
That's
bed, like,
right.
you're gonna do it." And he said, "Don't let go of that promise." And so when she makes the choice to jump into the
Yeah.
water, right, which
Uh-huh.
is what she almost did at the beginning under different circumstances, she wanted to
Right.
die in it. Now she jumps in it to swim, to get the whistle, to save her own life, and she finds the
Right.
will within her. So he had to die for her to make that full transition as someone
Right.
who has found a way to live freely, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's my
very
big
wow. That's deep. There is such a profound depth to that
Yeah,
because it really speaks to, how much of a catalyst he was. Like it's almost like, they made it seem like at the beginning that it seemed like this could be like a forever love of hers. They could run away and spend their lives together, but really, I mean, his purpose in her life, as you said, was to act as this catalyst for her to live her life to its fullest and everything. And
yeah,
it's interesting because, her seeing her as an old woman, and she was what, 101 years old, or at
yeah.
least Gloria
They're like
Stewart.
101 next May or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
something
So
like that.
she literally lived to be 100, and she literally lived to be, dying warm in her bed and everything. And it's fascinating because at the very beginning they show her, like with the clay and everything, and she's
Yeah,
living her life, and oh, I forgot. I was just about to make a point about this
living
about
freely.
living freely, but yeah, it had to do with Old Rose, but it'll come back to me. It'll come
It
back to
will.
me, but yeah. But,
But I feel
yeah,
that
yeah,
too, that she's making
yeah,
pottery and, um, and obviously we see all those pictures at the end at the roller coaster and
yeah,
she did. She lived a fully free life and she never cashed in that necklace because she didn't need that money. And
yeah,
she held on to it because, it's the ultimate test. Like and like I get it, like, oh, when people are like, but she could have left it to her daughter was fine and she knew that. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like nobody needs that
exactly,
obscene amount of money. It's not going to save anyone. You
exactly,
know?
so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that she did that because and even Bill Paxton's character, he wanted it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, it was to him, it was an ego boost. I could tell because, he had and it's not just the cigar that he had, but, just his whole attitude, surrounding, everything, just the way he's,
Well, he says it's payday,
yeah.
boys. He really is like,
Yeah.
yeah. And when he finds that art, he just thinks he's
Mhm.
like, "What is this?" It's like covered in clay, right?
Right,
He's like
exactly.
he's like, "Ugh." Um, and, but then he says he never let it in, like, realizing that, like, how I could have it so wrong,
Right.
um, that I've been doing all this, like, that I my only concern with the sinking of this ship, like,
Mhm.
I didn't is that there's a necklace at the bottom of the sea I want, like, it's
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
It's interesting too because, like when they were going through all the stuff in that vault, that it was the safe that, was, what was the name? What was his name? The
That, like
fiance's
Cal.
Cal, yeah. Yeah, they were going through all that and everything had disintegrated except for the drawings I noticed,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like I was wondering like what kind of paper and what kind of I mean, obviously they, for narrative reasons they had to, keep those drawings what is it called? Like make it seem like they, they didn't disintegrate because maybe they
Right.
would have disintegrated in real life,
Sure.
but it was just it's like that was basically the only thing the drawing was the only thing, like, tangible that Jack had touched, besides
Oh,
Rose,
exactly. Well, that's
yeah,
why the necklace was so important because, that's why her holding on to it, like, because you think, like, that experience but she doesn't even have a picture of him, as she says, she's
right,
like, "He saved me in all the ways a person can be saved," and she's like, "I don't even have a picture of him. He exists o now only in my
in my
memories."
memories, yeah.
Yeah, and,
That
like and
was
so that seeing that drawing again is worth being, like, chartered out on a helicopter and being dropped off on a boat in the middle of nowhere, which is interesting because you wonder, has
exactly,
she been on a boat in the middle of the ocean since? Like, even
yeah,
that is, like, a big like, like, imagine the trauma, like, I guarantee those
yeah.
people, the survivors, never went on another ship for the rest of their life.
Oh, probably not, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that the like you were saying, the trauma is just, amplified probably, and especially the children, the small children that were under the age I mean, it doesn't really matter how old they were, but it's just especially the
Yeah.
small children, though, they probably were just terrified to even, go in the water or even go near the ocean again,
Oh, yeah.
I bet you a good portion of those kids I mean, even in real life, in the real, what is it called? Survived the real Titanic, probably, moved to the Midwest or something and never wanted to see the ocean again and
Oh,
everything.
sure, yeah, they're just like,
Yeah,
"I'll write a letter to England and let them know that if" or
yeah,
Ireland, where we shipped out of, like, "If you wanna see me again, you'll have to come to America." I'm not
right.
But that's
Exactly.
crazy. I mean, really, like, that was the only way back. So
Mhm,
if you were coming to America temporarily, I
mhm.
wonder if you just stayed. I mean, right? Like, that's just
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of the people on there were trying to start a new life,
Yeah.
going to the United States, but I also thought about, the what was it? Those 2 guys, Sven and the other what's the guys
Yeah,
that were playing
Mauricio and Sven.
Yeah, Mauricio and Sven, probably the next I would probably say maybe the next morning I can imagine, them still being bummed out and butthurt about about losing their card game, but then they see the what is it called? They're like reading the headlines. They're like, holy, and then
Right.
they're like, look what happened. We're the ones that actually really won the
Oh,
card
Sven.
game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, totally,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, because
yeah,
they did. They avoided,
yeah.
because most of those and that is the sad thing, those third class people, like, they did
Hmm.
perish.
Yeah,
Um And it's just the ridiculousness of classism. And that's that beautiful moment. Again, what do
Mhm.
like Jack and when they come to that where the third class is locked in, like
Yeah.
caged animals, they fucking rip off that bench and they
Yeah.
charge the door. And,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
so great, because it's just like, that's the things that like Jack is willing to do.
Mhm.
And when that you need to exercise your righteous rage,
Right. And
yeah,
the tools that they had, I mean, the fact that they had that bench, it does remind me of what's going on right now. People are rebelling and they're taking that, they're like, they're not listening to, they're, because like right now the authoritarianism rising in this country, right? In a way, the Star Line, some of the workers that were like locking the people in,
yeah.
like in that, um,
Like you don't even get a
workshop.
chance to survive. Like you're not, yeah, yeah, literally,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
mean,
literally like you don't get a chance at a better life. You don't get a
right.
chance at a better life. That's what they're telling all of us. Yes, yeah,
Yeah. And it's
immigrants right
like
now.
when they took that bench and they rammed, the gate, they're like, well, it's like Cal said before, but in a different way. He says, I make my own luck. Well, these people were also making their own luck as well, but they were also like standing up to that authoritarian,
Well, I
you
think
know.
like that's the whole thing, right? Like
Mhm.
because again, like that goes to his ideology, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, you know, because it ties to which is very rooted in Christianity,
Uh-huh.
um, which is that because I mean, listen, we are exiled from the natural world
Uh-huh.
for a very important reason, and that is we have decided that we have the right to choose what lives and what dies. We have the decision.
Right.
That is the metaphor intended by the Bible when it says you've eaten from the
Yeah.
God's own tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Right.
Like you are trying to
Yeah.
decide who lives and who dies. You are exiled from the Garden of Eden. You do not live anymore in the natural world.
Right.
And so when this is the society that we live in,
Mhm.
the Titanic is a perfect, it's a micro of a macro. And that's
Mhm.
the whole thing is that this is a country that worships capital, that
Mhm.
literally, everyone's worth is dependent on money and money is pretend. It is literally fake. It has
Right.
no value in the real world. What
Right,
does have
exactly.
value is solid wood that you can rip off a fucking floor
You're
to shove your way through a
right.
wrought iron gate. You know what I mean? What
Exactly.
does have value is, presence and, instincts and I mean, just all of it,
Yeah.
when Cal tries to buy his way onto a lifeboat and the guy
Uh-huh.
finally is just like, your money won't save you anymore than it'll save
Well, it's
me.
gonna save me, yeah.
What's really fascinating
Threw
is
the
the
money
next
at him.
yeah, and what's really fascinating is the next thing he does, which is perfectly mirrored by Jack and,
Mhm.
Rose, in what they're going through during the sequence, but,
Mhm.
he uses a child.
Yeah.
He grabs a child and, and I think it's the perfect metaphor for the fact that, um, when money like, that they are willing to use your body
Yeah.
to survive,
Yeah. And
because
it's
they are so
mhm.
and it's rooted in a fear of death
Yeah.
that's rooted in I mean, that's the spark that made us early humans realize like, "Oh, I need to or, like, I want to try to beat this, like, stave off death as much
Mhm.
as possible." So all of this, everything
Mhm. Yeah.
is an attempt to, not die, to pretend that death
Mhm.
isn't coming for us.
Mhm.
But it is, and none of us
It's
have a
true.
say in that, and that's the real truth. And all we can do is fight
Exactly.
for our lives, like Jack and Rose do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and, what was fascinating about, what was it? There was one thing I was gonna bring up here with, the fact that Cal used that little girl to get on that lifeboat and stuff just showed, I mean, to me, it validated just how much of a coward he is too, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, and, I know that they didn't have time to really, show what happened to the little girl and everything. She probably was grateful that, she got saved, but at the same time, like, it's
Where well,
the
that's the purpose is that he never said, "Let's find your parents. Where are your
yeah,
parents?"
exactly.
That he was willing to take something that wasn't his, a human body, in order to
Right.
ensure his own safety, and suddenly, and she's kind of looks like a second or third class girl. Like she doesn't
Yeah.
isn't dressed like a first class little girl. And I think
Right.
that that's symbolic too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
We are,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that, and what's perfectly happening with Rose and Jack at that time is they
Mhm.
find that little boy crying alone in the hallway.
Oh. Yeah.
And they're like, "We can't leave him." And they pick him up and they start to run, and then the dad appears and they're like, "You're going the wrong way." They try to tell him, they try to warn him, and then they
Yeah.
have to turn around, but it goes to show, like, they were willing to save another helpless being, even though that
Yeah.
would have been burdensome for them and their
Yeah.
chances. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then it's interesting too because I think the father and the child ended up, dying anyway, because, they he wouldn't
Yeah, we
listen to them and
saw them.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
didn't trust
Yeah.
the instincts. They were just, and that just speaks to like a deeper freedom for Jack. I mean,
Mhm.
Jack is freedom embodied, and
Mhm.
so that is why, you know, someone like that is deeply connected to their intuition, is deeply living in flow, right?
Right.
Literally. Um,
Exactly.
and that is, I mean, that's ultimate freedom. He's not participating in this system, that they
Right.
have created. And that's why he's so dangerous, and that's why
Right.
Ruth looks at him like a bug that needs to be squashed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because he tells everybody this, at the dinner table too when they,
Mhm.
are talking to him about or when he's telling them about himself and saying right now my address is the what was the
RSS Titanic.
RSS Titanic, yeah, and ends up you know and one of the man that was like, kind of he was like, here, the one that had the mustache that was
Oh,
I think
Ismay.
he
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, no, it wasn't Ismay, it was the other guy with the top hat that was,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
holding the
yeah. Yes,
friend.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, he was really, sorry, my cat is
All good.
wanting attention here, so
All
I'm
good.
trying to
Oh,
trying to
I'm
get
gonna
him
pour
to
more
stop
tea.
making noise. Yeah. Anyways, he was, yeah, I remember, he was, you know, listening to Jack, like, in a very genuine way, and, he was like, "Hey, this guy's a free spirit," like, I mean, he didn't say those words, but,
You could
I
tell you could
yeah,
tell that he was just make ye count, like, or here, like
you're here,
trying to like,
exactly.
and then, and that's when Cal really is like, real, and then he tosses in that lighter and he's like, I make my own luck type thing or whatever.
Right,
Or,
exactly.
and again, that just speaks to the core root
The
ideology
ideology?
of I have
Mhm,
control, I will
uh-huh,
decide. And that is
right,
just so, wrong in terms of the truth of all of this of life. That,
mhm,
if God willing, if the universe wanted, I could have a heart attack right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, right,
it's truly, and that's why it's so wonderful that it's an iceberg,
right,
that that nature takes it down, that the ocean, you know, um, and it's really sad that Mr. Andrews, um, he felt like he didn't build a strong enough ship, and it's just sad that you are
right,
taking blame, that when in reality it was, like you had mentioned earlier, the hubris of Ismay, and
yeah,
that, like making the headlines and just like, you know, uh, look how powerful we are, look at us, like this unsinkable ship, you know?
right, exactly, and yeah, and it's also fascinating too, like, because this movie was, made I mean, it's interesting, all of the CGI and all of the, because like, they obviously, they didn't build Titanic to scale necessarily. I think they did a few of the outside shots,
Yep.
possibly, I think, in, like, a warehouse to scale, but,
I think it was
parts of
a
the ship.
third of the
Yeah.
ship. A third of the ship was built to scale. Yeah.
Right, right, and then there was something about, it wasn't just the ship that was built to scale, there was something else about, I was gonna say something, that left me. What were we saying before? We were saying about,
Um, just about look at us building this like great ship. It's unsinkable, and just, the belief that like we're untouchable, like you had mentioned earlier, untouchable.
right, right, yeah. Yeah, there was some the sea okay, okay, this is what I was gonna say. So, Yeah, it's interesting because, around this time, it was what, 1997? This was around the time, for example, The Matrix, came out as well. And I noticed that, CGI seemed to be at like the next level and everything. That you had like in the early 90s, for example, Death Becomes Her, which is another one
Right.
of my favorite films that had, amazing special effects in it. What was interesting too is when they showed the steam, the coal room and the steam room and that part of the ship,
Yeah.
that was, that ran the propellers, but it was like this big metal piece that was like
Mhm. Yeah.
it was like a massive like that right there, it just added to the energy of how massive this ship was.
Oh, yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
this is why, like, I will die on the hill of this is the greatest achievement in film ever still,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because just the scope and the scale of it, and
Mhm.
the fact that he literally went to the bottom of the ocean. James Cameron went
Wow.
down and filmed the Titanic and used that footage in the movie.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so, how many people do you know that go to the bottom of the ocean, to
Right.
make it to tell a story? But, um
Yeah.
and what and then just like, yes, the sheer craftsmanship to build replicas,
Right.
just the size of those things and how realistic, and so much of it is practical effects. There is a little
Yeah.
bit of CGI stuff,
Yeah.
but so much of it is like, there's a scene where they're running away from the water in slow motion, Jack and Rose, and
Right.
it's like fucking coming for them.
Yeah.
And that's stunt people because they really had rushing water.
Yeah.
And their faces are plastered on and it looks super it looked kind of bad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise, it all looks so good because so much of it was done practically. It was done with a model ship in a like a hot tub. You know what I mean? So it was like a
Yeah.
hot tub
Yeah.
of water, and you just see the camera close and it's like a ship like this big, you know.
Right.
Um
Yeah.
but so much of it was done with practical effects, and I mean it's just it's truly, and the attention to detail is
Yeah.
just next level.
Mhm.
And it's embedded, and it's just like baked into the fabric of this story, and that's why it feels larger than life. That's why it feels, all those things that you mentioned. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and, what you just brought up with James Cameron going to the bottom of the ocean, you and I were talking about before the podcast started, about how, Stockton Rush, had like, I noticed parallels between, J.
Of
Bruce
course.
Ismay, who was played
Mhm.
by oh gosh, Jonathan, what was his name? There, like, I have it up here. Jonathan Hyde is,
Mm.
Jonathan Hyde, like, if you guys have anybody that's watching this podcast right now, if you've seen Jumanji or, God, he's been in several films. He was in this show on FX that had to do with, like, a virus,
Mhm.
recently. But he's a pretty incredible, British actor and stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, he played, Bruce
Ismay.
Ismay,
Yeah.
yeah, who was, he was the one that he designed, like, he was the one that designed the actual ship, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah, and again, we were talking about the hubris of, the parallels between Bruce Ismay and Stockton Rush, because Stockton Rush being if you guys remember 2 years ago, the Titan submersible imploded with, Stockton Rush and, 3 other people, and, they were on their way down to see the Titanic, and, Stockton Rush, ignored, all of the advice, all
Even
the
James Cameron came forward
yeah,
and spoke about it
exactly.
because he knows all the diving, the submarine standards and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, and so, like, there was something about the hubris, the ego of Stockton Rush and Bruce Ismay that was very parallel, very similar, and it just again, what we were speaking about before about, making things larger than life and, it being kind of an allegory for, like, the massive ego, but then, you poke holes in that ego, and then that ego deflates, and so, like, the ship being
I mean, and the
built
dramatic
up is
irony is just literally the most
yeah.
incredible because and it's so perfect. Like he's like, imagine the headlines if we get in on Tuesday night, and then when the captain
Mhm.
realizes it's going to sink and he says, "I believe you may get your headlines, Mr. Ismay."
Yeah, exactly.
And it just really is like, holy shit. I mean, because I try to imagine how I would receive that news when he says, "I assure you, like."
Mhm.
like, she will be at the bottom of the Atlantic. And they're like,
Mhm.
or when they ask her, like, how long, and he's like, an hour, maybe two.
Maybe 2.
And it's
And
just
help
like,
wasn't gonna come for 4, you know?
I know, but it just really like, and then like when he tries to, when they're trying to reach the other ship, and they're like, oh, they're the only ones that responded. They said they can be here in
Mhm.
4 hours. And the captain's like, 4 hours.
4
And you just
hours.
see him like have that like realization, like
Yeah.
it's just like a huge reckoning. Oh, speaking of which, there's a
Yeah.
great reckoning mirror
Mhm.
between Rose and
Mhm.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Old Rose at the beginning
Mhm.
when Lewis, who's like the one of the guys on Bill Paxton's crew, is
Yeah,
showing
the
her
guy
that
with the
the
yeah,
beard and
beard.
the curly
Yeah.
beard, yeah. Great look.
Yeah.
He is showing her that computer rendition, the computerized like, and it's so soulless, and that's what speaks to him, and the heart of the
Yeah.
ocean. Like really, like
Mhm.
she did give them the heart of the ocean.
She
She
did.
made them see, yeah. She brought them to the real heart of the ocean because they were so insensitive about it. It was just
Oh,
very like,
yeah.
first she did this and then she bobbled, blah 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 blah. And Rose
Yeah.
is just like, that's the first time Rose is viewing it from that view. Rose,
Right,
you know what
exactly.
I'm saying? And so there is to me, it's like a recognition in her eyes, a reckoning
Mhm.
moment of like what she literally survived and went through.
Yeah.
And Ruth has that same look on her face when the ship is starting to do that in the water and she's in the lifeboat and
Mhm.
she's looking out at it. It's like that reckoning moment of
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
what have I done? What have I, everything I've believed is like how, like, it's just a reckoning. She
Yeah.
obviously knows her daughter's on that boat, which is, I mean, it's just wild.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up that part too, because I did notice how insensitive that man was to, just I mean, he's not even thinking about the fact that she lived this. Like, she was there, she was in the ocean. She was one of the last 2 people, her and Jack, to go down with the ship and everything, and she was in the water, so, like, I could tell that, there was a little bit of, like, her just, being polite, but then I could see that, the guy just he was just so clueless in as to
Well, and
yeah.
she really like felt that. And so like, and that's
Mhm.
why she says like the experience of it
Mhm.
was a lot like, and she starts right in with like, it was a lot
Right.
it was whatever she says, but she basically says it that it was much different than what you're
What you're
describing here.
describing, yeah.
Another
Yeah.
beautiful touch from James Cameron that I've noticed too is that
Mhm.
when Rose first arrives at the ship, she steps out of the car
Yes, yeah.
and is in that big hat,
Mhm.
and she kinda,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
looks up from it.
Ken
Yeah,
yeah.
and at the
That was
end,
classic Kentucky Derby hat.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the experience, and she hides her identity on the boat, and
Mhm.
she's covered in that
Yeah.
blanket. It's, like,
Uh-huh.
such a perfect mirror, perfect character arc, perfect
Yeah.
transformation.
It's
Such a
like trans
beautiful.
Yeah, it's like a transformation from one identity to another? Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
it's like her old life, where she was, because you could tell that there was a part of her, like, when she was getting onto the ship, and also from that time until the time when she was about to jump over the railing when she met Jack, there was something that, like, I felt like was dying inside of her,
Oh,
like, her
yeah.
spirit was just kind of was shriveling up and stuff, and you could tell that she was very, ladylike and poised and everything when she, but you could see, you could feel, her soul kinda crumpling underneath and everything.
Yeah,
It
because that's the whole
Yeah,
thing, yeah, she said she felt
yeah,
like she was being taken back to America in chains,
right,
because she
right.
was, because, this burden of having to participate in this world that she doesn't believe in, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And I think that, like, um yeah, like, that's why it's so beautiful, and that's what's happening to
mhm,
all of us. This system kills our
yeah,
soul. It's the antithesis of how we should be living,
yeah,
and so it's the I think there's when something, you know, in the 1990s, I learned about the Titanic in
mhm,
elementary school. Oddly
yeah,
enough, like, literally, like, the same year the movie was coming out. Like, it just
right,
happened to be, like, you study it in 4th grade or whatever.
yeah,
And the movie, so I had just learned, maybe it was even 3rd grade actually that we learned about the Titanic. So it might have been a year late
yeah,
early, like, it came out a year later. But it just,
mhm,
like, the fact that I had just learned about it and then this movie was coming out, but that was at that point, 80 years, and um, were, or 84, I guess,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that we were still, um, the fact that it was being taught in school as a
Mhm.
historical relevant
Right.
thing because it's part of our mythology. It is the human journey towards ultimately spiritual enlightenment, which
Abs
is this material world is not going to save us.
exactly. It's
Home isn't
interesting.
here.
Yeah. It's here. And it also reminds me of, uh and actually, I'll get to what I was gonna say in a bit, but one of the things, since you brought up, you were learning about it in school and everything, I remember seeing this movie in theaters when I was 9. This was, yeah, when it was released in 1997, I was 9 years
Yep.
old. I went with my mom and I think my sister, and, my mom was crying, like, by the end of when Jack was in the water and everything, and the people around us were just getting all weepy-eyed, and then after I saw that movie, I was just fascinated with the Titanic. I wanted to learn more about, the real Titanic, so I remembered, like, for a couple of weekends, I would go to, our library here in Anchorage, Alaska, called the Lusac Library. It's, our biggest library in the state, as far as I know, and,
Mhm.
they had Anchorage Daily News, or before Anchorage, I guess it was called Anchorage Daily News when I was a kid. I think it's called something else now, which I'm spacing the name of, but I think it was also called Anchorage something. But anyways, the papers had, an article about the Titanic, because around that time, Anchorage, Alaska was a tent city, so it was just
Mm.
getting started, because it was established, I think, in like 1916 and stuff, but before that, people were living in tents here, and I think, whenever they started that paper, I think, like, there was articles that existed, and they had them in the archives at this library, so I was reading about, that from, the perspective of, being, the people being here, in Alaska, reading about what's happening, in the Atlantic and everything, and that was really
Yeah,
fascinating to
that is
see.
fascinating.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
because people so much more connected to the natural world.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's interesting too, because, like, whenever a movie comes out like that, that shows a historical piece, even though there was obviously Rose and, Jack were, fictional characters, but still they I bet you there was somebody on that ship, that was probably, reflective of that, maybe they lived, maybe they passed or something, but there were so many people, on that ship that, came all walks of life, and it would have been interesting to get to hear more stories about,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that there are more stories out there, but I think the last surviving Titanic, survivor, didn't they I think they passed in 2011 or something?
Yeah, it was, like, pretty
Yeah,
much, like, right around just before it would have been, like, 100 years since the sinking or
right.
something. Um,
Yeah,
but it goes to show a lot of them did live really old, which I find
yeah,
fascinating, and you do find that about, like, Holocaust survivors too. A
right.
lot of them have lived really long lives, and I
Yeah,
think that there's like, when you confront something like that, when you confront death like that, you
yeah,
live
yeah,
a little more peacefully, and
yeah,
it changes something in you, I think, in a big way. I mean, anybody who has a brush with death like that, it changes the way they live.
yeah,
But I
exactly.
feel yeah. I feel like, there was something, you were talking about, um oh, when seeing it, you were talking about seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
What
I
was your
remember when I saw
experience? Yeah.
I mean, that was it, man. I was in 4th grade, and, I remember I got a haircut that day,
Mhm,
and my friend's older sister,
mhm,
um, picked us up in her car to, like, take us. She was, like, she was 18 or 19, and
right.
I was 10, or maybe I was just about to turn 10. I actually might have been if it was 97, I was actually yeah, I was just about to turn 11, so I was 10.
Yeah, yeah.
My
Just
birthday's in December, but it was December 19th. I remember the day. I
yeah,
remember the whole experience because it was such an awakening film for me. I think it made me wanna tell stories. I think it made me wanna get into film.
yeah.
And, we had I remember it was like our little Christmas exchange in class, like,
Mhm,
and then we all went and, like, and I'm like, "Was I in 5th grade?" I don't know. Anyway, it was one of them. It might have been 5th grade, actually.
right.
It was 5th
Yeah,
grade. It totally was 5th grade. I'm
yeah.
remembering now. Anyway,
I was in 3rd
and
grade at the time, I think.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, it was one of those, and it makes me realize right now also, like, in a meta way,
Yeah.
dude, James Cameron, like, freed the nipple in, like, such a
Yep.
big way. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
that's
Because it
right.
wasn't because it wasn't in, like, a sexual nature, so he was able to get away with it. It was in an
Yeah.
artistic nature, in an
Yeah,
artistic
yeah.
setting, and
Uh-huh.
so that was the first time I've seen, nudity on screen
Right.
at that level in that way,
Yeah,
um, and yeah, and so for a film to be about, like, freedom, it's interesting to have that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting with, about the freedom aspect. I was gonna say too, one of the things I wanted to talk about too is the fact that, um like, towards at the very end, remember, Jack was saying, "You're gonna die an old woman warm in her bed," right? And after she threw the heart of the ocean away and we see her in her bed, going to sleep, like, the next scene, they show the bottom of the ocean with the Titanic, then all of a sudden daylight just penetrates it in such a powerful way, and then
Mhm.
we see, the camera kind of like, and it's weird because it's almost like a drone moving through,
Yeah,
the
as it
toward the
comes back to life. Yeah.
right, it comes back to life, and you see, like, her, you see, like, the camera pan into the stairwell, where she first, met Jack when they were gonna have dinner and everything,
Yeah.
and it
He had
literally
left
showed
her a
all.
note that said, "Meet me at the
Yeah,
clock."
right, exactly, and it was interesting because you see all of these people that all people that died that we know died,
Yeah,
on that
waiting
ship,
for her, yeah.
waiting for her, and they're like, "Hello," you know? They're like, that part, it reminded me because, like, I'm fascinated with movies, and stories about the other side,
Yep,
and I would have loved to have seen that, if I know that they didn't have time to do it, it was already a long movie, but if they had done something like, What Dreams May Come, for example, I was just it made me think about, 'cause I did a podcast, about this last year with my friend Christine, and, we talked about, the connection between Chris and Annie, both in the book and in the movie, and how, very different the stories were from the book to the movie, but the connection between Annie and Chris remain the same, and I really feel like there's that kinda similar energy between Jack and Rose.
mhm.
They weren't in each other's lives for very long, but you could tell that the 2 of them were soulmates, and,
Yeah,
he was supposed to be there for her at that time in those few days, even though she.
100%.
Yeah.
Which is also such a feat that James Cameron got us to believe that people fell that deeply in love in, like, 48 hours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what you if you notice, Jack sees
Yeah.
her first for the first time when
Right.
she walks to the edge of the thing and he, like, looks up and his friend's like, "Yeah, like, good luck getting you to around the likes of her, bro," like, type
Yeah.
thing. And she kinda, like, looks over, like, he sees her,
Yeah.
and she, like, sees him, like, seeing her, and she gets uncomfortable and looks away.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I find it so fascinating, because so many of the most karmic relationships in my
Mhm.
life began that way with a moment of
Yeah.
seeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too because somebody, I had thought was gonna be a lifelong friend that I ended up finding out this person was a complete narcissistic, you know, individual, that had a very profound, like, traumatic impact on me and stuff. That was also, again, karmic, friendship and everything, but when I saw this person's eyes, like, I knew, "Oh, I know this person. I
Yep.
know them."
Yep.
I didn't know at that point the effect that they would have on my life, both
Yep.
positive and negative, but I
Yep.
thought, "Okay, this person, I know them, I recognize them."
Yep.
And then it also taught me that just because, you recognize them, it doesn't mean that it's always a good thing,
Oh,
but it does.
100%. But it is
Yeah,
karmic. It's
yeah,
part of your journey. Like, I do
exactly.
think, like, because I had a bad relationship, my first ever relationship, and it was that moment too. Time
Yeah,
stood still. I remember seeing them for the first time. I remember
yeah,
it. I remember the moment when I
yeah,
was 14 years old. And then when I met my wife, it was the same way, but obviously that's a good thing, so
Of course, yeah.
but we had that experience as well. So it is that, we're all just walking each other home.
Right,
But
exactly, at the
let me ask you actually, because I don't
Sure.
remember, and I would like to, since you watched it last night,
Yeah,
when we go to that white and then we do go into the Titanic and the doors open for her,
yeah.
are those doors, is that the door she's floating on?
I Oh, yes. Yes, I believe
Yeah.
it yeah, because I mean, the way that it was shaped,
It
it
had that, like,
recognized
design on it.
it
Yeah.
did, it
Yeah.
did,
Okay.
and yeah, like, you see the people opening the door for her. I feel like that was her going into the light and people, were waiting for her, and,
And what's beautiful is she
yeah,
was, like I said, Jack brought her to the threshold, and she was still
yeah,
on top of the door, and he sunk below it, and it was,
yeah,
like, opening the door for her, you know what I mean? Now she can cross that other threshold, and it is beautiful that it
exactly.
all came back to life because you think,
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, in death, it's a birth, right?
right,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, very fascinating.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because, when she goes through the door and you can see him, he extends his hand, he's like, "There you are," you know?
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
I could tell, like, he may have thought in his mind or maybe, like, when they, were acclimating back to each other, on the other side or whatever, I can see, him saying, "What did I tell you? I told you you were gonna die at 85 years old in your bed and stuff."
Well, do you know what's actually
Yeah.
beautiful is he doesn't say anything.
Right, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
I know what you mean. It is like that funny thing, like, "Told ya."
Told you exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting because all the people that were waiting for her that I think that and that's the thing that I hear, like, when we do cross over, we have our family, we have our pets and everything waiting for us, and I think in this instance, she left, the earth with and one of the things I think that, oh gosh, what was, Bill Paxton's character's name?
Um, Something Lovett, Mr. Lovett, I don't remember
Mr.
what his
Lovett.
name is. Yeah.
Right, yeah, him and that whole crew and her granddaughter that was taking care of her, the story that they left behind or that she left with them,
Yep. I just got
explaining her
chills.
experience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's like that was the real heart of the ocean. That
Exactly, that's
was
what I mean. Yeah,
yeah,
she gave them what they were looking for
exactly.
because what she gave them is beyond riches, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
it's a spiritual truth that she was one of the wealthy people on Titanic who was had a walk-on spot on a lifeboat,
Right,
and
exactly.
she chose to walk away from all of that because,
Mhm,
and, yeah, and I just I it's the kind of story that really makes your soul dance, and it's funny
mhm.
to watch people be so devastated that he died, and I get it, but, like, it's
Yeah,
like the movie, like, her transformation can't be complete until he does, and that's like,
exactly.
he's the mentor figure, and the mentor always dies.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's the thing, like, I think a lot of people wanted, like you were saying, to for it to be like a love story where, they run off together, they spend their lives together and everything, but, I mean, this was much more profound, and that's kind of how life works too in a way, and,
Mhm.
it doesn't I mean, yeah, sometimes, you're blessed with being able to spend, you know, 70 years with the person you love, which we all hope for,
Mhm.
but also at the same time, sometimes, people come in and, have that, I think there's a lot of people that'll say, "I'd rather spend, 48 hours with you and then not be able to see you again for
Yep.
another 90 years and never see you in this lifetime," or something like that, like I've
Yeah.
I've heard, that in movies and TV shows, and it's so true because yeah, I mean, Jack was a catalyst, for Rose, and maybe he was never meant to, I think it's very interesting too, because I have a feeling that,
Well,
the
remember
way,
he told her that she wouldn't
yeah,
have done it. Do you remember that?
yeah, yeah,
He said he likes it Caesars, and she's like, And he's like, "You wouldn't have done it." And she
yeah,
kinda, like,
yeah,
scowls.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. It's fascinating too because when they were on that, when they first met each other on that
Yeah.
on what is that called the railing, and, he was trying to talk her down and everything. And he was explaining about how when he was a child, he fell in ice water, living in Wisconsin,
Yep.
which from what I hear is cold as hell too.
Mhm.
Um, it's I thought, okay, like, he probably had a feeling that he was gonna die young. I have a feeling that he may have gotten a clue at some point that he was gonna pass on pretty early, like at 22 or 23, and I think that's one of the reasons, because he had said that he had been on his own since he was 15 because his
Yep.
parents died around that time.
Well, I don't even know about
Yeah.
dying young so much as just being familiar with death, right?
Yeah,
If he
exactly.
already fell into the water, he already had a brush with death, and we just talked about that, about how, like,
Right.
that can change someone, and then losing
Yeah.
your parents and being on your own from the time you're 15.
Yeah.
And he decided to, live. He said, he was, like, jumping trains for a while, getting from
Right.
place to place,
Yeah.
just literally, and those choices are out there for us. We're so glued to these systems, and we really want to live that way. It
Yeah.
speaks to the depth of our soul. Like, we
Yeah.
really are like, "Bro, yes, I wanna live that way," you know?
Yeah. Outside of a system that's supposed to keep us caged in, and I think right now we're in that space where I think people are making the choice to live off grid in a way,
Mhm.
and
Oh, for
making
sure.
their own and making their own freedom, and realizing it's a system that we're all trapped in, because there's such a lack of accountability, in
Mhm.
this society, and not just, not just a lack of accountability, but it's like the system is designed so that not one person or a group of people can be held accountable, but once that system comes down, then what I call the gatekeepers of that system start to come out and, complain
Oh, for
about it.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's an abusive dynamic is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a pyramid shape, it's a top-down structure, and the
Yeah.
people at the top are at the top, on the backs of everybody else.
Right.
People ask, "How did the pyramids get made?" It's a mystery. I feel like it's very simple. At least, it's like slaves. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
um, I know that there's different things with the architecture of it that makes people question it more, but
Yeah.
I'm not aware enough to. I don't know enough to speak on that. All I can say is
Same.
that, well, if I was talking just in the realm of genuine logistics, I'd say slaves, right? The
Right.
poor. Um, because we know ancient Egypt was
Yeah.
the pharaohs and stuff did adorn themselves in
Yeah.
gold and all those things. I feel like, and it is an abusive structure, and more people are waking up to that realization. But the ones that really support it, that really, I mean, it's the far right now that is very
Right.
much like, you know, uh, how could you talk bad about this? They're the ones that are protecting their abuser, and they don't realize they're
Right.
abused. And then
Yeah.
they are, our little city council meeting here in our town, a lady was mad at one of our council members for not
Yeah.
standing during the Pledge of Allegiance. And she tried to accuse
Right.
her of not being like a patriot.
Patriot. Yeah.
And and she is so great. She's the person that me and my wife voted for to be on council.
Yeah. That's
She's
awesome.
our, yeah, and she had the most beautiful response. She talked about how she's married to a disabled Army vet who is now
Mhm.
an EMT first responder.
Mhm.
Um, it was raised by people from the military, and she was like, she just talked about how to her that, she doesn't stand because of the last thing, like liberty and justice for all. And
Yeah.
it right now is not honoring that. And so I do this not from a place to desecrate what this country is, but from a place of respect
Right.
for what it's supposed to mean. And so,
Exactly.
like, yeah. And like, for me, I look at that kind of thought process and I just think, like, when you're so oppressed that you don't even know you're oppressed
Right.
and you're so abused, that's when you become the abuse victim. She was so ready to police this woman.
Yeah.
"Oh, how dare you not be a patriot like this country and its freedoms?" Well, look at you trying to take someone's freedom of speech and expression away. Right now, you are
Exactly.
immediately turning that abuse onto somebody else to control them, because your religion is control. Just like
Right.
how these people on the Titanic, their religion, the first class, is control. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They worship capital because they believe, because capital is power, and that is
Yes.
how they have
Yeah.
control.
It's
Yeah.
interesting too, because, what I was saying before about, the authoritarian aspect rising. It's interesting because what you were saying about how she was trying to police how, the fact that she didn't say the Pledge of Allegiance and everything, and that it was free, that she, in fact, is actually just expressing her freedom of speech, where she doesn't need to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and everything. It really, it takes me back to, there's have you ever read I haven't read this book yet, but I saw the show on, Amazon. It's called The Man in the High Castle.
I've heard of The Man in the High Castle, and I've
Yeah.
heard that it's a very good, allegory for capitalism.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's amazing, and it's, basically it was a book by Philip K. Dick, who, has written all sorts of, sci-fi, very deep, very, like, and this is why I need to start reading his books, because I've been reading about him, and it sounds like he was in touch with some kind of, like, otherworldly energy, I think, because he really channeled a lot into his books. And the Amazon series, like, I didn't watch, like, a good portion of the first season. I kind of picked it up, like, during the second season, but my dad and my mom were starting to watch. They watched part of the first season, and it was basically, it took place between, like, it was like an alternative version, like, what if the Axis powers had won the World War II and not the
Right, right, right,
Allies,
right.
right?
That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
and
yes. I've
so
heard about
they
it.
went, yeah, and so the point I was gonna make is that they went really deep into that authoritarian, way of living, because, the Japanese, and, so the the Nazis, the American, they call it the American Reich, controlled the East Coast, and then there was no
Mhm.
man's land in the center, where, like, the Dakotas, and, that part of the country, where it was like neutral territory that they could all meet onto, and then on the West Coast, Japanese controlled, Alaska, Hawaii. I don't even know if Hawaii even existed in that.
Sure, sure. Mhm.
Yeah, but anyways, it was, like, all the Pacific states and everything, and, I remembered there was a specific episode when, one of the main characters, his name was John Smith. It was like, for him, it was like his darkest timeline, because he became, started following, the American Reich and everything, and he became like he's one of the main characters. He becomes like this head officer, and his children, like, he's got the son, who, what is it called? He basically sacrificed himself, because, I guess he had something physically wrong with him, and he wanted to show, I guess, for his country, he wanted to be, loyal to his country, so he decided to turn himself in to the Nazis, because, they didn't want anybody that was, physically weak, right? So,
Yeah.
anyways, I guess the point I was gonna make too is that one of his daughters was, like, really entrenched into the ideology of, Nazism, and so, um, like, she was really drilling a teacher, that she had, because the teacher was, like, straying off of the, and she was like, "Well, wait a second, why are you saying it like this? Isn't it supposed to be like this?" And it was almost like you could tell that she would have, like, told on them and stuff. And I see a lot of, I'm seeing people do that, like, try to tell people,
Yep,
like, "Well, if you're not doing this, you're not American, or you're not, that,
yep.
and we're gonna call ICE on you and stuff." It's just, it's disgusting, And,
Mhm,
I forgot where I was going with this, because I was gonna tie it back to, oh, yeah, the Titanic with, the first class and everything.
mhm.
I did notice that, some of the, some of the characters that maybe were not, like, the big major characters, but some of the minor characters, even the Starline crew members, were like, like, trying to put people in their place, even, like, the idea of just locking them into, to leaving them, with the
In a
key
cage, yep,
in a cage and everything. It's like they were enabling that kind of structure and everything, and
yep.
that's, yeah, that was heartbreaking to
It
see. I
is
mean,
heartbreaking. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's happening all the time, and like you just said, it's those people that are like, "Oh, I'm gonna call ICE on you." It's like, you are under such severe control that your
right,
only way to feel it for yourself is to control someone else,
yeah,
and that's the wrong way. and that's the whole thing, right? With
Yeah.
them, Jack and Rose picking up that kid and then telling the guy, like, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. Like, we
Mhm.
can't control certain things, but like, we can be aware, and we can be conscious, and we can trust
Yeah.
like our intuition. And, you know, I one thing I that we hadn't talked about was,
Yeah.
and you just reminded me, because we haven't talked about Molly Brown, and Molly Brown's an
Oh,
interesting character
that's
because,
right. Yeah.
she was new money, right?
Right. Yeah.
And to her, safety and freedom was found in playing along, right? So
Right.
she put, I mean, granted, she was like a good person,
Yeah.
and because she was new money, she represented someone who wasn't totally brainwashed yet.
Right. Exactly.
Um, and so, like, and what's interesting is she just basically tells Jack to play along, right? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
she gives him a costume. She gives him her son's suit,
Right.
and she gives him, you'll pass in this. And then
Yeah.
she tells him, just, like, work from the outside, start on the outside, work your way in,
Your
about the
way in.
silverware, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so for her, it's theater, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play this part because she in real life obviously had come into that money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but being new money is, oftentimes you are the bridge between those two
Right.
worlds. And that's why she was the one telling, the people in the boat, like, what's the matter with yous? Like, that's your men
Yeah.
out there. Which is why I think,
Right.
I'm looking at this, I'm a huge Madonna fan. And I'm
Of
like looking
course.
at my,
Yes.
and I just think to
Yeah.
myself, Madonna to me has always been like the new money of the entertainment world, because she did come
Right.
from the Midwest and with $35 in her pocket. And so
Yeah.
that is why she kind of really does stand on her own and has transcended the system in so many ways.
Absolutely, and I love the post that you've made on Instagram, and for those of you listening, whether you're listening live right now or you're listening, after we've recorded this, you should follow Heather on, Instagram at, Heather Turman, at Heather
Yes.
Turman, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and,
do post a lot
als
about Madonna in my
yeah,
stories, because she is, to
right,
me, I think she is the most free person I've ever seen in my life. She
yeah.
embodies total freedom.
Total freedom, absolutely. And one of the posts you made last year, I think it was either in the fall or I think it might have been the summer or the fall, but you talked about how she has literally made a song in every genre, and I
Yeah.
never thought about that before. But then I
An
went back
album
and
in
I
every genre. Yeah.
an album every yeah, and that's the thing. It's like she represents, it's like she's mirroring not just mirroring back, like, all of these, different genres, but she's, like, almost, like, reinventing certain aspects of those genres too.
But she commits from a
Yeah,
place of just being committed to the moment. When she
yeah,
lived in Portugal, I've been listening to her last new album, Madame X, from 2019. It's her
uh-huh.
most spiritual album. People would
Oh,
think that Ray of Light was, but
yeah,
Madame X is her most spiritual album. Because she's been on a spiritual journey, man, and, like,
yeah,
she's been
her
here the
whole
whole
life.
time, and
Yeah,
she's been here the whole time telling us.
yeah,
She is such a beacon of truth, and,
mhm,
like, yeah, I just went, like, me and my friend last night, like, dove deep down it, so it was, like, fresh in my mind, but, like, really, like,
yeah,
it, like, sometimes blows my mind because, just how the media has treated her. And I know that there's questions about plastic surgery, but I think that Madonna has a message to share, and she
right,
knows that if she can make a concession and try to look young, because that's the only way that people are gonna listen.
right,
You know what I mean? Because she
yeah,
still
yeah,
has a message to share.
absolutely,
That's a
and
spiritual
she'll
one.
yeah. Right, she'll always have that youthful energy though too, even if, hopefully she lives, to 100, obviously, like, I can yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, to continue to see, like, what, music she comes out with and everything. Because one of there are several songs that I like that, actually, I made a Madonna playlist
Oh, cool.
on Spotify. Like, I'm trying to get off of Spotify because,
Yep,
there's, yeah,
they're
the
evil.
whole thing with
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, I'm trying to find a way to just move everything off. But
Yeah.
I was listening to a couple of my favorite songs are, I'll Remember, and then La Isla Bonita. I was listening to that
Yeah.
this past summer when I was kayaking. I just got into kayaking not too long ago, and I didn't realize, like, how much I I loved it until I tried it and stuff, and I went out onto, this lake in my, hometown called, uh, DeLong Lake, and it's really pretty when the sun hits it and everything, and so I was listening to that on my phone as I was, I guess working out with, paddling around the lake, and that's one of my mother's favorite songs,
I love
but
that.
yeah, yeah,
I love
she
that. I have like
yeah.
a deep fucking I have and it's probably gonna sound insane. It's gonna
No,
sound
no,
insane,
no,
but please know it's coming from like a very true, like studied
sure, yeah.
place.
Yeah, yeah.
That I have a theory that like Madonna is like the fucking light right now, bro. That she is like
Oh, yeah.
that and has been for 40 years and 40
Yeah,
plus years. And it's the fact that her name is Madonna
yeah.
and her mother's name is Madonna
Mhm.
and her mom died. Her mom was Mother Madonna and she's baby. She's Madonna and child. So it's like she
Yes.
is and she embodies Jesus's teachings. And I'm not saying that she's like,
Yes, yeah.
listen, she's a human being. Like I'm not like
Right, right.
she's made questionable decisions that I'm able to hold her
Totally.
accountable.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
and
She's
everything
human.
that she's
Yeah,
if you really listen to she's been trying to tell us the truth about self-belief.
mhm.
This is a great quote that she had said. The only true safety in this life is self belief.
Self-belief, yeah.
And that is how she took herself to where she took herself. That's how she maintains control over her music, her
Yeah,
image, everything she spreads, self belief. And that's what Jack had,
yeah.
self
Yeah,
belief.
yeah.
And he taught
Self-belief.
Rose self belief. That's why in that final moment, she knows she has what it takes to fight to live. I mean, she's like hypothermic and her voice is gone, but she jumps
Right,
back in the water and swims. And with everything she's got, finds the
right.
breath to breathe into that whistle, you know?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's self-belief is, and that is such a deep, deep fucking thing. And so anyway, it's
Yeah,
my tangent over, but I really encourage people to
yeah.
really deeply listen to her music and her lyrics and see what she does because
Mhm.
I think she's helping. I think she's a huge bridge to ushering in the
Yeah.
patriarchy or the matriarchy.
The
Sorry,
measure
a huge
Yeah,
bridge to it.
to exit
In a
out to
big
the
way.
patriarchy, I
Yeah,
guess, yeah.
like in a big
Yeah.
way, truly.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting you say that, and I don't think that's insane at all. Honestly, the way you're describing it makes me think about how there's certain people, like, I know that Buddha and Jesus Christ and, they call them ascended masters and stuff, so in
Yep.
a way, for her, she's kind of an ascended master of her time, meaning she's helping the collective raise the consciousness
Yes,
of this
yes,
planet.
yes. She's
It's this
helping them believe
Yeah,
in themselves. That's what I mean.
exactly.
It's the most deepest, like it's like the deepest truth because we don't topple down the patriarchy, we uproot it from the
Yeah,
bottom.
exactly.
And so like and that's what's happening right now.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I was saying to it's funny because people are always like, "Oh yeah, I don't really know her music." But they really do actually. And then when
Yeah.
you actually break down the lyrics like something simple like Vogue, and I say simple, but Vogue is like fucking heavy. Vogue is
Yeah.
look around.
Uh-huh.
Everywhere you turn is heartache. It's
Uh-huh.
everywhere that you go. You try everything you can to escape the pain of
Yeah.
life that you know. When
Yeah.
all else fails and you want to be something better than you are today, I know
Yeah.
a place where you can get away, right? It's called a dance
Uh-huh.
floor, and here's what it's
Yeah.
for. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
deeply fucking, and you like truly, like, so
Right.
anyway,
That's deep. Her music is again, like, we could do, like, whole
there's
podcasts on
spiritual
this too.
messages in all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. And
Exactly.
Matamax, check out Matamax really
Okay.
and read the lyrics as you go through it.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts.
I would love to give them to you. Yeah, we should definitely, maybe, like, in the future here, like, do, like, a live or
Sure.
a podcast or something on Madonna and yeah, because there's definitely Oh, I grew up obviously, like, we both grew up listening to her music and
Mhm.
everything, and, my so m so my mother was born in Mexico, and that Isla Bonita, it reminds me so much of my mom because, she had several Madonna albums, when I
Hell
was
yeah.
growing up and everything, and so, like, it's like her music takes me back to the '90s, when,
Right.
during, like, the happy times, that I
Yes.
had and everything, so yeah, and I wish that Madonna had I don't remember her having a song on, like, Titanic. That would have been amazing if
You
she
know what's
had.
interesting though?
Yeah,
Ray of Light, which I do think her career can be divided between before and after Ray of Light because that was the
right.
beginning of her spiritual awakening.
Yeah,
Um, but Ray of Light and Titanic and the Titanic soundtrack battled,
Yeah.
for first place. Ray of Light is she won 4 Grammys, but it's her was her first Grammy win.
Yeah. Oh.
It never got to first place. Titanic soundtrack was number
Oh,
1.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
My Heart Will
fascinating.
Go On, right?
Yeah, yeah, for real.
Yeah.
My Heart Will Go On, that is the perfect song for it. And
That
people like,
yeah.
like, "Oh, so cheesy," but it's just like it's deep also.
Yeah. It's interesting too, speaking of like the roots of music and, we're talking about Titanic and Madonna, I don't know, there's something about the score of Titanic as well that is just so beautiful. And it had there were a lot of what, and I don't know how many of the people on the ship were from Ireland, but there was just this beautiful Irish music, like, kinda
Yep.
threaded throughout the score of this movie, and it's like, I felt really connected to that, like,
Well, because
I
the Irish
yeah,
fought for their freedom in a really deep way from the
that's
Brits,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
what's especially great, is that they're dancing with the Irish below deck, and
right.
the Irish, like, you know and many of them were the ones working in the steam room, and,
Yeah,
and I think it's symbolic because the Brits did, oppress
mhm,
the Irish for a very long time, and the Irish
they
are the only
did,
ones w'ho've never like, not the only ones, but they've never fought a war,
right,
They fought for their freedom, their independence, but it's different.
yeah.
Yeah, there's it's a spiritual, and it's layered in, I think, very purposefully, yeah, that music.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting too because when I was hearing, that music and I was seeing Jack and Fabrizio, get on the ship, for some reason it made me think of, Gangs of New York, which I recently revisited that film after, like, a decade and a half,
Mhm.
which was fascinating. Have you seen that movie?
Not since it was new, so I'm curious
Okay.
I'd be curious to rewatch, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you should rewatch it. It's because what's interesting about it is, like, it was I mean, it took place in, like, 1840, so this was obviously, like, 60, 70 years before Titanic sank and everything, but it was very fascinating, because obviously, what was it? Leonardo DiCaprio also was a part of that,
Yeah,
it was made around kind of a similar like, I think a few years after Titanic was released, and it was just interesting because, he was part of his father was part of this I his character's father was part of this Irish gang, that went up against, what's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis's character and everything, and, he left for a while after so his father got killed by Daniel Day-Lewis in the very beginning, and so, like, I mean, it's been a couple of months since I've seen it, but basically he left for a while, he came back, Daniel Day-Lewis didn't recognize him at first,
right.
but, he was trying to kinda get an in so that he could seek vengeance and, avenge his father, and it was interesting because throughout the movie, you kinda see, like, what old New York looked like before it really all the
Right.
skyscrapers and everything, and how, there's such a rich history, like, even before it became a city, it was, the the indigenous people of New York, were, very prevalent around that area, from what I vaguely remember about, and I have to go back and read about it again, but it was just really fascinating because they show, like, and this isn't much of a spoiler, but, like, at the very end scene before they cut to the credits and everything, they show just how like, they show this, like, graveyard from the 1800s, and then they show, like, all around, because it's like a graveyard, it's like there's the ocean or the bay or whatever, and then they show, like they kinda do, like, a fast forward, and they show, like, the rising of all these buildings and
Yeah,
how, how
yeah,
much the city changed from I think, 1840 all the way to the year 2000 when this film was made and everything, and that was
yeah,
really fascinating, and so I imagine that, I mean, there was a vibe about it that was kinda similar. I don't know why, but it felt kinda similar to Titanic because
sure.
yeah, because
It's about the pursuit of, wealth, right?
yeah, the
Yeah,
pursuit of wholeness and the pursuit of, just, having
control.
having an ab yeah, having a free life and abundant life,
Right,
but
right,
not
right.
even yeah, but not even
Well, I mean the
necessarily in
bad guy having
yeah.
control is what I mean. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you wanna do a tarot?
Oh, yes, yeah, okay, that's I've got okay. I got the inversion tarot right here. This is one of the
Fun.
coolest. Yeah, this is a really cool deck. If you see this anywhere like Barnes Noble or Amazon, it's got kind of the like a almost 1800s or 1700s like wood carving type
Yeah,
of
love that.
it's really really cool and yeah. Um let's see, what question would you like to ask the
Should I ask about, like, a character, or should I ask a question about the movie?
whatever you want to do, like whatever you feel is the strongest about.
Um, let's find out, like, about Ruth. Did Ruth ever find peace? Is that, like, a question we could find out?
Oh, that's so funny that you say that. I was just thinking when I was thinking about the yeah, we can totally do that because it's funny you mentioned that because when I was thinking about the doing the tarot readings last night, I thought about what happened to Ruth? What happened like after,
I mean, we assume she probably had to be a seamstress, which it's not
yeah,
had to. Thank God you have a skill,
yeah,
Ruth. That's the point. Yeah.
right, exactly. And yeah,
That's your safety. Yeah.
right. And before I do this, I thought about how, if she really wanted to have a rich life, I mean, she could have also I mean, I imagine she's quite good at being a seamstress, so maybe she could have become like yeah, during her time, like a fashion designer or something, who
For
knows, right?
sure, for sure.
Yeah,
In fact, you know
yeah,
what you did? You actually just gave me such a way better way that I will describe in this movie to people generally. You just
yeah,
made me realize that the heart of the ocean, that necklace,
yeah,
what Jack gave Rose was worth so much more than that.
right,
Yes,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. Which is why she was like, "Whoop," like, right at
Yeah,
the end.
yeah, literally.
She
Boop.
yeah, she made that sign, she was like, "Boop, boop."
Mhm.
Alright, so you were asking, like, what happened to Ruth after Rose never spoke to her again, right?
Yeah, did she find peace? Yeah.
Did she find peace? Let's see. Okay, so gonna choose I'm gonna do a 5-card spread, main card, challenge card, hidden influences, and, conclusion, like, on okay. It'll show kind of, a little bit of her journey there, so
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so did Ruth find peace? Let's see. Oh, this one wanted to come out. Uh-oh. 5 of Pentacles.
What's that?
So 5 of Pentacles is like in the Rider-Waite tarot that symbolizes somebody being left out in the cold.
Mm.
It's the couple or the 2 people that are just like this, huddled and they're outside of the church and they're in the cold and stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, that doesn't look promising. And let's see what so her challenge right now is her emotions. And this is the
Mhm.
Queen of Cups right here. So she's really struggling, with I mean, not just because, of the just the Titanic, but just in general, she's very, very cold person, and
Mhm.
was really just, as you were saying earlier in the podcast, she says, "All we have is our name," and everything. And so,
Mhm.
like, her challenge, after, what happened, to with Rose, her not even realizing it was is dead or alive because I from what I understand, she never saw her mother again after
Well,
that.
yeah, she never did,
Yeah,
so yeah, yeah.
exactly. So, I think that's something for the rest of her life that she really struggled with, was coming to terms with, that, with her emotions and being able to manage them and, just never obviously, no one would ever get over what happened to them
Yeah,
in that traumatic event because basically she lost her husband, she lost her daughter, not in the way we think. She lost her
right,
family's
yeah,
to death. To
but she doesn't
her,
know that. She
yeah,
thinks probably, yeah,
she doesn't know that. So it's, but to her, she's dead to her basically and stuff.
yeah,
Unless Rose were to be like, "Hello, mother," but
yeah.
she would be like, she
Yeah,
probably would just die on the spot there, unfortunately. I don't know. Anyways,
mhm,
okay. So, and then something that's, let's see, okay. And this right here is like what's going on also internally, which is the 2 of Swords. So it's like closing herself off. That's the card where the person's blindfolded, their heart is closed. So she's got a closed heart. You know
yeah,
that's the thing. Like her emotions and her heart was all in the material side of things and stuff. And so I think that's something she struggled with like for the rest of her life.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean,
it's
having a closed heart is what makes you
Mhm.
obey and participate in that system.
Yeah, and the outcome of her life, like, towards the end of it, she got the fool. This is interesting because I think it wasn't until the very end of her life that she ended up, hold on, sorry. My cat found some
His catnip.
treats, his catnip treats, trying to keep him busy so he doesn't make a bunch of noise and stuff. Yeah, there you go, buddy. Oh, he just took it out of my hand. Here we go. Anyway, so the fool, yeah, the fool is to me is some of like I think at the very, very end of her life, like right when she was on her deathbed, I think this is it was her going, just for the most of her life she was closed off, closed her heart, but I think at the very end she might have had some realizations about herself and everything,
Mhm.
which is fascinating because I can see that probably would have been, maybe having a lot of regrets, but also the fool is about new beginnings as well. So
Mm.
maybe when she crossed over, she, realized, hey, I'm gonna have to approach this a different way.
Well,
That's
just even or just even, like, right at the very end, like, when you take
Mhm.
stock of your life and you realize, like, what mattered.
Yeah,
She would have been alone on her deathbed without her daughter,
right.
so there is that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, and it's interesting too that I got the feeling like intuitively that Rose, I don't even really think thought about her mom all that much ever again because not it wasn't just that it symbolized that old life, but I don't really feel like she had a very strong connection to her mother anyway, you know?
Well, yeah, the mom wanted to put her and wanted her to be what she needed her to be. She didn't want
Yeah,
her to be herself, and that's what I mean, like, that's the greatest oppression we can,
yeah.
and I grew up relating to that, my
Me
parents,
too. Yeah,
bless my parents' hearts, but they're
yeah.
like, a bit of, country club people just always worried about, fitting in.
Mhm. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, with my family dynamic, there were pressures, with myself too to conform and, don't try to stand out, but I did anyway, and
Yeah, good for
because
you.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's interesting too because with, you know, even when I tried to fit in, it never worked because everybody around me, like, would treat me the same anyway. Like, the
Right.
people that for example, the kids I went to school with in elementary school, like, I was not very popular, obviously. Like, I was the weird kid, and, even when I was trying to be the kindest, and just try to come from a genuine place, there were still people that were like, "Ugh," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, well."
And just realize, yep, yep, you grow up and you realize, "All right, well, you're not my people then. I'm gonna find my
Exactly.
people." Yep,
Exactly, and
yep.
it's funny because like, when I started, like, also healing that and letting that go, like, even, like, outside when sorry, my cat fell off the
"Oh,
he fell
no,
into a
too much
chair.
catnip."
Yeah,
Stoned.
he's stoned. Well, he likes the greenies. These were in my pocket.
Oh, got you, got you.
He likes to take walks, and he's kinda like a dog, but he's a character.
Cute.
Look at that guy. Yeah.
Look at that big paw too. "Hi,
Right?
handsome. Wild man."
Yeah.
Love it.
He's a polydactyl and
I love
everything.
that. He is gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on the news back, like, 2 years ago, and, like, I was posting videos about, just, like, walking him, like, on the Nextdoor app, and, one of the news anchors here in Anchorage, he moved to Colorado, but his name's, Dave Allgood, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to interview you and, about your cat walking on a leash and everything. I think it would be a wholesome story in the midst of
Aw,
all this bad
yes.
news and I said, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And so, I'll send you the link to it.
Please. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
yeah, it's really funny because Zuko, I adopted him from the Alaska Cat Adoption Team, which is a really, they're a wonderful nonprofit.
Mm,
They, um I don't know how many, like, nonprofits you guys have in Detroit, like, in Michigan, that, try to find um, cats and kittens homes, forever homes, and everything. But I'm sure that there's ones there. But the Alaska Cat Adoption Team is one of those here in
I love
Anchorage,
that.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and I always advocate for, people to, like, if you're gonna adopt a cat, adopt, don't shop, of course,
of course, yeah,
Yeah, and, not only that, but adopt from a place, that puts the welfare of the animal, above all else.
of course, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, so this is my baby, like, I don't have children or anything, and I'm
totally,
not
yeah, yeah.
not married, so he is the closest thing I have to a son.
Totally, that's how I am with my babies. We've got 4
Oh,
animals, and
oh,
our we get to be human stewards for them. They're humans.
that's
Um,
lovely. Well,
yeah.
there's Tagalong, which one passed? Was it Nenea or did Tagalong pass away?
No, no, we nobody's passed away.
Oh, good. Okay, okay, okay. I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's just
Tagalong she had a seizure.
uh-huh.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, she's 14. She had a
Oh,
seizure last year when Uranus entered
mhm.
my 6th house briefly of small pets and
Yeah,
all that shit, and it retrograded back, and it's gonna be re-entering at the end of April, and so I'm on high alert. I'm just like, "Oh,
yeah,
dear God, please don't." I mean, I realize that
yeah,
within the next 7 years, I'm going to lose her during this transit, which makes
yeah.
sense. I mean, Uranus, the
Mhm,
planet of disruption, right?
yeah.
Um, in my 6th house of, uh work and health, and it includes small pets. So I'm just like, well, preparing myself. But for now, she's here, and I'm grateful for that. Period. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna put her. She's not going anywhere yet. So
that's good, and
yeah,
what was your cat there's Tagalong,
there's
Nenea, and
Tagalong,
who
Nanea are the dogs,
yeah.
and then we have Lionel and Luna.
Lionel, Luna. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Luna and
think
Lionel.
Luna's the one that's kinda white, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's been a
Luna's
while since
white.
I've seen a picture of her, but yeah,
She's
you're
awesome. She has such a spirit, man. I dig her spirit. She
that's what I was
desires to
saying.
freedom like nobody's,
Uh-huh,
we take her out in the backyard in the
uh-huh,
summer, and she lays on a leash, and I want to let her free. I would love to let
uh-huh.
her free, but Heather did lose a cat to coyotes, and
Oh,
I
no.
have yeah, and
Yeah,
so I have conflicting opinions on it. On one hand, I'm like, she's willing to live in the wild. She's still connected to the natural world. Like,
yeah.
she doesn't fear death. Like, let her live, let her be so free. But then the other part of me is like, we did this to them. They
Yeah, we
need us now.
domesticated
You know what I
them.
mean? We domesticate. Yeah, we took them away from the natural world. So there's that part of me that's like, I think we do hold responsibility in keeping them as safe as we can, while also giving them
Right.
freedoms. And she is so wild, and she just I really dig her spirit, man. She's just a great, cool cat, cool lady.
Absolutely, I love that. Yeah, animals are, we're so connected with, it would be interesting to see what our pets, our our animal companions, evolve into and everything. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like if they're allowed to evolve for the next, thousands of years, I wonder if they'll become like humanoid or something,
I do
because
think about that. I do think about that. But I think that we'd just
Mhm.
be, I mean, maybe, you never know. I mean, dogs are learning a lot of really crazy, wild stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It's impressive.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of it seems like with a dogs are so smart, it's like they can understand exactly what we're saying in English and,
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do. I mean, there's those, do you
Mhm.
follow Stella, like the talking dog? It's
Uh-huh.
so, she
Yeah.
started a whole, I mean, now everybody has those buttons for their dog, and it's so beautiful.
That's right.
And that dog, like, I saw the lady post like a happy birthday to her recently, and she was just like
Mhm.
you'll like, I wish you could know how you've changed the world, like that more and more
Right.
people are like
Aw.
communicating with their dogs and recognizing the depth of their thinking and their communication, because she'll like ask
Right.
questions, and then like if the owner like asks for clarity, she's like, what do you mean, like blah blah blah, and then they'll think, and then they'll go and give a response, and it's just
Mhm.
like, it's really special.
Yeah.
There are teachers, they really are. um have society at large, not we individually,
Right.
have done unto them what we have done unto ourselves, just like, what I'm saying, we are doing.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, but this was so lovely. I know we
Yeah.
said, like, and we went a little over, but that's okay. And
It's
I just see
okay.
I've got
Yeah.
10% battery. My phone's gonna die here.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say really quickly, I was gonna draw
Yeah.
from, there's this There Are No Coincidences manifestation guidebook. I found this
Oh, I
randomly
love
one
that.
day at Barnes& and Noble. It's really good, and, it's got these, nature cards, cosmo cards, the ones called Threshold that, have, like, cards like Tunnel and stuff,
Mhm.
Mirror and all this, and then Chance Encounters, all that stuff. I was gonna pull really quick, to, what do you call it? Clarify that 5 of Pentacles for Ruth really quick. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I
yeah.
love that.
So oop,
There we
okay.
go.
Yeah, so fog. Fog
Oh, yeah.
clarifies the 5 of Pentacles. So, yeah, so confusion. She's not clear, she's yeah, and then Mars for the Queen of Cups. So this to me with this is there's this like irritation and anger. There's a lot of anger, like,
Of
with
course.
her emotion with
Resentment.
this.
Yeah, she's
Right,
resentful, yeah.
exactly.
And left
So
out
it
in the
also
cold. Yeah.
left out in the cold and stuff, and, like, life's not fair, right? Well, it's like,
That's life.
that's life,
That's
exactly.
life, and that, takes it back to the beginning. Jack's ideology was he believed in chance. Chance matters.
Yeah, and then the Two of Swords is the water right there.
Oh,
There's
wow.
yeah,
Wow, wow,
yeah,
wow, wow.
and then the Fool, let's see what comes out with that. Oh, hold on. Eh, sorry. There we go.
You're good.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Fire.
Which one did that clarify? Sorry.
That clarifies the Fool.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Oh, wow. Oh, is she
yeah.
going to hell? I'm like, "Oh god."
I don't think she's going to hell, but I think that,
But did she realize she was putting herself through hell probably based on that
yeah,
ideology she's living in every day? Maybe right at the
yeah,
very end, that's how she realized it.
yeah. With this one, like, just get the feeling that she's, like, the fire, like, I think that she's maybe finding new purpose here, like,
Mm,
finding
mm.
a new passion, but also, like, burning away all the things that she used to be, that
Yeah,
and yeah, because it's almost like she's forced to confront, how she really was and where she was coming from, and it's like, I think the fog lifted, but also, like, there was, like, a sense of burning out, but then reigniting the fire within her,
100%.
so
Oh, got you. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Totally,
yeah,
totally.
so yeah, yeah, so I know that your phone is on 10%, but, this has been great. I'm
This has been
happy to
great.
have you back, Heather,
Thank you
yeah,
for having me. Thank you for,
welcome.
having me talk about, uh, one of my favorite movies to talk about, so thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, if I'd love to have you back on, sometime again if you want to, talk about another movie, or we can even talk about Madonna or something like that.
Yeah,
Let's
or just symbols of matriarchy on the rise. There's a
Yeah,
lot of them out there.
for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
but, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and let me know, does this automatically go out there? Like, is this our like, if I hang up, I can, like, share it?
Absolutely. So after I press end, it's gonna like download into
Buffer or whatever.
Substack.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's gonna automatically post on both Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I think those are definitely the three that they're on.
Cool.
But then there's also, I think, one that I forgot about. But I'll send you a message about that after we
Sounds good. Yeah, and I'll share it.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. All right. All
Well,
right.
thank you
Well,
so much. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Tell Heather and the pets that, I say hello, and yeah, and
Of
yeah,
course, will do, and have tell your, cats it was lovely to meet them, and,
absolutely.
yeah, and I'll hopefully see you again.
All right. See you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Take care,
Bye.
Heather.
Mhm.
Bye.